Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast of Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I am joined here, as always, by the man who has never been slapped by Will Smith. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing good. Lots of bad takes. Lots of bad takes.
Yeah. That's wild.
I think I stay on Twitter just because I realize that I'm not insane. Like, I think I have like a bad opinion on something, and then I look and see like, oh wait, I'm not crazy at all. Okay, but yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say not crazy at all.
I'm a little crazy, but there's definitely worse people out there. So
right. Wild stuff on Twitter.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Things are good. We have Kyle. This is the last show before we get into draft stuff. A week from today, top 10 quarterbacks. It's exciting times.
Yeah, it's really good. Really good time for sports, too. We got the draft coming up. We got baseball coming around the corner. We got a great basketball season coming to a close. We got three really good NHL teams that look like they can compete for a cup. And then we got, the NFL burying their dumb new Rooney Rule. And, that's the dumbest rule I've ever seen in my life. The changes to that is ridiculous.
I might have missed this. What are we referring to?
So they added new provisions to the Rooney Rule that included a mandate to hire offensive coaches, minority offensive coaches to every team. Every team must have a minority offensive coach. And then there's also, you have to interview basically more people. More minority coaching candidates for head coaching positions, which basically means that more people are going to get interviewed and then rejected. And then not to mention, it's like the reporting on this is so bad. Like I'm seeing the ESPN thing and it just reads like a press release. It takes 5 seconds. I didn't go through all the teams, but through the AFC, like I'm going to go off on a tangent here real quick.
Go ahead. We're off the rails already.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if you look at this, Buffalo Bills, Kelly Skipper, running backs coach. Let's see here. You got who is it? Aldrick Robinson, offensive assistant on the Miami Dolphins. Ivan Fears, running back coach on the New England Patriots. Miles Austin, remember him? Wide receivers coach on the New York Jets.
Sure.
There's T. Martin, wide receivers coach on the Baltimore Ravens. I get the entire AFC already has an offensive coach on their team. There's offensive assistants on every team basically already, and they're all running back and wide receivers coach. This doesn't change anything. And it's just a bunch of owners coming together and talking about this and then releasing a press release that sounds awesome. It's not going to change anything. I think it's a bunch of BS.
Yeah, very unfortunate for a league that's usually so good at this stuff.
I mean, they really tried to bury it here and come out.
It worked. I didn't hear Kyle. I work in football. This is the first time hearing of it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like I just read this and it's like, so nothing is happening. Nothing is happening with this.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Apologies. I can't give my thoughts on it. I didn't know about it. Bad on me. But Kyle, we also have some good. Speaking of good and bad, we're doing the 15 best and worst decisions teams made this offseason. This could be fun. I think you're doing the best. You're the positive guy. I'm the negative guy. So I think that works out perfectly.
Yeah, I am always Mr. Optimism. Just always. So do you want me to just kick it off right there? Number one?
Sure. Let's do that. Number one. I'm not sure if these are no particular order, just 15 of the best and 15 of the worst moves. Go ahead and get us started.
All right, let's kick it right off the bat with probably the biggest move of the offseason. And that is Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos trading for Russell Wilson is my one of my best moves of the offseason. I don't know if Russell Wilson's still a top 5 quarterback. I think that's fair to say. But at the same time, Denver has to do this move. You look at the quarterbacks that they had the last decade, since that Peyton Manning season, which even that last Peyton Manning season was not very good. Basically, the last 10 plus years, though, you're looking at your quarterbacks and saying it's bad. You have to go and get somebody, especially as you're looking at this division where the Chiefs are looking like they're going to be at least pretty good with Patrick Mahomes for the next foreseeable future. The Chargers hit the lottery with Justin Herbert with the 6th pick. And then you got the Raiders who are just stockpiling a team. They got all this momentum from their Vegas move, all this kind of stuff. I think that I think that this is a good move for Denver to try and stay competitive in this division and, be interesting. I think this is a huge move. And I think, crazily enough, I think it's also going to help their sale and probably bump that up, which I think is kind of dumb, but also,
Mhm.
helps.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. And I agree. This is a great move. I mean, anytime you have an opportunity to upgrade at the quarterback position, you do it, especially when it's a quarterback like Russell Wilson, who we've seen be a top 5 quarterback relatively consistently last year, excluded, but part of that was due to injury. There's some risk involved. There's always going to be risk involved with a move, but you just look at their Super Bowl odds before this move and after this move. It speaks for itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be a pretty good team this next season. I think Russell Wilson's going to have a few good years left in him. It's going to be interesting to see going forward just how good he is and what level he can be. But I'm willing to bet he's going to be better than Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, big, bold takes here from
Yeah.
Kyle. Uh, I'll give my first negative just because it kind of coincides. I had the Seahawks trading Russell Wilson as one of the 15 worst moves, and I wonder if there might be a couple of these that get put in the same category just because I get it. You want to rebuild. It's a lot. What's your first step of the rebuild? The first step of the rebuild is to get a great quarterback. You already have the great quarterback. I think you stick with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you should basically try and get whatever you can out of a good quarterback before he's not good anymore. And I still think, even though with the down season, which he was hurt, I think Russell Wilson still is a very good quarterback. And I think that's something you should try and continue to capitalize on for as long as you can. Obviously, they felt like there was time to shake something up, which they decided to keep the 70-year-old coach and then move on from the, star quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bold move. The biggest problem I just have with this with the Seahawks, which if you feel like you want to shake things up, I'm kind of okay with it at the end of the day. I don't agree with Russell Wilson being traded should be your first move,
Mm-hmm.
but they got, no offense, nice, but if you're looking at a tight end as your number one thing in a trade asset and the number 9 pick this year, like I don't know, that's a poor return to me in my book. If you're getting that back, Patrick Surtain should have been in this deal. Potentially Jerry Jeudy should have been in this deal. You got to get one of those two guys, I think.
Yeah, I think they would have been better than the number 9 overall pick in terms of value of the around the NFL because this isn't that great of a draft either, Kyle. So it's not like you're getting a number 9 in a typical year as well. There isn't as much talent this year as there has been in years past, at least on paper.
At the top of the draft, at least, I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tough look, I think, and I just think it's a very short-sighted move. And I think that this is a long rebuild. I mean, they still could get their guy at number 9. I still think, knowing the history of the league, knowing the history of the NFL draft, they're going to have to move up in the draft, I think, to draft their quarterback they want because people are going to reach for a quarterback. I think they're going to have to move up probably, but I still think it's a tough look to say Drew Lock's our guy at least for next season. Like, who's excited? Who's running to a Seattle Seahawks ticket booth right now?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe someone goes under runs that way. Maybe someone that's how they exercise. They live nearby, and that's just what they do.
I guess so. I guess
Mm-hmm.
so. I don't
Yeah.
know. So a lot of Rashad Penny this year. I'm excited.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Next, okay, number 2, again, in no particular order, but your second favorite move of this offseason.
I'll just get this one out of the way too. Sticking with the theme here, Browns trade for Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Look, however you feel about the out the field stuff, I would dock if I were to rank these. I'd dock it a little bit just because there's a likelihood he's going to be suspended. We still don't know yet, but on the field, Deshaun Watson is an elite football player. He's an elite quarterback. He's entering his prime basically. This is
Mm-hmm.
a Super Bowl winning move from the Cleveland Browns, who already have a very good defense, a good offensive line, good running game, and as we're going to get to here soon, made another couple of good offseason moves that I like. That this is a Super Bowl winning move, I think, for the Cleveland Browns, and getting Deshaun Watson, I think, helps them on the football field.
Man, imagine if the Browns win the Super Bowl this year. Just
Ugh.
yeah, that's gonna be it could happen. I mean, again, this is a really good football team. I had them winning the Super Bowl last year, and now to go out and get upgrade from a decent quarterback in Mayfield to an elite quarterback in Watson. I don't think he's going to be enough to completely put them over the edge. I still think they need some other help, but they got again some other moves that we might get to. So as a whole, this is I'm with you again for just talking football. One of the best moves of the offseason.
Yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, I mean, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Obviously, they still have this whole Baker Mayfield thing they got to deal with, and you know how if he does miss time, how long is it going to be? I guess is the question too. So, and what's the plan for that? There's still a lot of questions I think with Cleveland, but at the same time, there's no question about who's the better quarterback between Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I did not include this one in the worst moves with getting rid of Deshaun Watson just because like the off the field stuff, I get why they made that move. So I don't
Yeah.
think it's a bad move from their perspective either. I'm gonna stick with Seattle for a minute because I have another worst move from them. Not adding a quarterback. I think just as bad of the going into the season with Russell Wilson is Drew seemingly wanting Drew Lock, like seemingly like choosing to take him on like intentionally is a weird move. Not going after Baker Mayfield, not going after even like Jimmy Garoppolo. I could understand the logic behind not going, maybe they'll draft a guy and that's what's going to happen with number 9. That's possible. But so this could end up being an okay one. But as of right now, one of the 15 worst moves is the Seahawks not paying attention to the quarterback position after getting rid of Wilson.
That's the thing that doesn't really make sense to me about all of this is that, like, I touched on it and I think it's still a true point. Like, is Pete Carroll here to stick through a rebuild? Like,
Right.
he's the oldest coach in football. Like, I just don't understand based on who your personnel is, based on the talent that you kind of already had, even though it was a down season, a disappointing season, I still thought there was some talent here that you could work with. Based on this situation, how do you not have a plan to like jump at one of these guys? Why aren't you calling and asking about Matt Ryan to at least figure something out? I'm never a huge fan of tanking in the NFL anyways, just because I think there's ways to in the NFL to still build rosters pretty quickly compared to
Mhm.
other sports. But I think it felt like there just wasn't a plan really going into this. It doesn't seem like there's a plan. And I think that drafting a quarterback when you have an old head coach, you got aging talent around the roster, I think it's kind of a short-sighted move.
Yeah, I'm with you. I did not. I don't know what they're doing in Seattle. Interesting stuff. We don't spend forever to that because we kind of touched on it with the Russell Wilson stuff. Number 3, best moves. Where are you going?
Let's go back to Cleveland. I'll just knock
Okay,
Cleveland out right at the
sure.
start.
Hmm.
Browns trade for Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
This is a
Hmm.
really good wide receiver, and he was given for basically what was it, a 6th-round pick? I just had it up in front of me, and then I
Yes,
moved
I
it.
believe it was 6th round.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically capitalizing on the Cowboys' ineptitude here because they have this Baker Mayfield, or not the Baker Mayfield. They had this Ezekiel Elliott contract that they can't get out of. They're stuck in this situation where they can't pay all their offensive weapons. They want Michael Gallup back. They want to they want to add talent to this defense, and they're stuck trading an elite wide receiver for basically nothing. Um, and the Browns capitalized. I think that's a huge move. They needed a number 1 wide receiver option, and they went and got it. I think this is a fantastic move for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I agree, and they needed this, right? Because I mean, kind of joked about, man, this roster could really use a number 1 receiver, sort of an Odell Beckham Jr. type would have really fed in well with them. Well, they got the number 1 receiver, and I don't know if I don't know if I almost said Antonio Brown. I don't know if Amari Cooper is the number 1 receiver, like in terms of like an elite guy, but I think he passes the threshold of what I consider to be a number 1. So getting a guy who can at least win against man coverage consistently, a guy who you can target on 3rd downs, things like that, that's definitely a very, very good thing. And you didn't have to give up the draft capital. You're just paying $20 million a year, and you can get out of the contract at any time. So I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, he's in the top 20 number 1 wide receivers on a team, right? Like,
Hmm.
you're taking him over, like, just going through the list. I'm taking him over a Kenny Galladay. I'm taking him over a Hollywood Brown. You're taking him over some of those guys.
Yeah.
So I think he's good enough to lead an offense. I still think that they need to add another guy at the position because they cut Jarvis Landry. But I think this is just a really shrewd move, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And like I said, capitalizing on. I'm a big fan of teams capitalizing when dumb teams make dumb decisions.
Uh-huh.
And a team made a dumb decision, and you're the one reaping the rewards of it right now. That's what Cleveland did.
Yeah, I agree. Let's stick with speaking of dumb decisions, as I'm the one talking about them. Let's go. I just put Dallas losing everybody. Dallas seemingly lost a few guys here in this offseason. Obviously, not just not just Amari Cooper. You also have Lyle Collins going along with some other talent as well. So that's kind of my main logic about this is they kind of screwed themselves with the cap situation. Not sure exactly what they could have done, but it does feel like their strategy of saving themselves from the cap situation by getting rid of star players. Just not sure if I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Like, so we did basically right after the season ended, we did a draft of teams most likely to win the Super Bowl next season. And I took the Cowboys in the top 10, and it wasn't even because I thought this team was amazing or anything like that. I was just like, look, I think the NFC is kind of weakening, and there's still the chance that Aaron Rodgers left the conference at that point, which Russell Wilson did, not Aaron Rodgers. I think the NFC is weakening. The Cowboys still have a pretty easy division to navigate, and it's kind of set up for them to make the playoffs without having any issues. And then if you win a game in the playoffs, then all of a sudden you're in the Super Bowl with the chance. So this team, it's just a bunch of bad mistakes. It's a bunch of bad decisions. Now the problem is that they made a bad decision years ago, which is basically now biting them in the ass now, right? They can't move around this Ezekiel Elliott move, and it's just it put a cap restraint on this team. They had to pay Dak Prescott, obviously. They had to pay a few other guys, but then it put such a cap restraint on this team that now they're just kind of getting screwed, and they don't really have another option except for letting these guys go, and it's hurting the team now. Now, I still think that they're good enough to win the division, but this team's not making the Super Bowl in my book unless they make some dramatic moves.
Yeah, new Master 60 Mime talking about consequences of paying a running back. So yeah, obviously, as you mentioned, the Ezekiel Elliott one, that's the big one. But also, the Dak Prescott move, this is the tough stuff of paying a quarterback that kind of money too, right? Is now you get in this situation where you have to, you have to make some of these decisions. Although again, they could have, could have let Michael Gallup walk and keep Amari Cooper. I think there's still some weird decisions, even with the cap constraints that they had.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a I wouldn't be happy if I'm a Cowboys fan at all. And I don't know, and then apparently they wanted Greg Zuerlein back, but couldn't get it done. I don't know. I think it's a bad situation right now. Like I said, I still think they're okay spot in their division, but I think this team took a huge step back as far as NFC powers right now.
Yeah. All right. Next positive one here. I believe we're on number four. Number 4. Where are you going?
This is going to be a two-parter. Part 1, Raiders trade Yannick Ngakoue for Rocky Sin, and then part 2, they sign Chandler Jones. So
yeah,
not only did they add basically a pretty good corner, I don't know if I would say clear-cut number 1 corner, but a good corner to their defense who fits their system well. They also upgrade pass rusher. They upgrade at the edge rush position. They're letting Ngakoue go, and they're getting a better version with Chandler Jones, who, isn't the same Chandler Jones as he was a few years ago, but is still a very good pass rushing Chandler Jones and someone you'd want in your football team. I think that's a good couple of moves. I think that improves the defense dramatically, and I think it makes a lot of sense for what the Raiders want to do and what this defense wants to look like.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that makes sense. I always like the idea of, getting something back for trading someone and then using the cap space to get someone else, which is what they did. The Rocky Sin thing is interesting. I made a video about him kind of talking about how one of the things that maybe gives me a little bit of pause is he was really bad at man coverage his first 2 seasons and then was really good last year. And typically when there's a player like that, it tends to be more fluky because there's so much variables that factor into man coverage, whereas zone coverage, there's less variables. Zone coverage tends to be much more, which is much more predictable. If you're good at zone, you're probably going to continuously be good at zone. Not necessarily the same for man, but his zone coverage is still solid. So I think that you're getting a solid corner, which is also a position you needed with Casey Hayward going out. So yeah. I like the move. You're upgrading at 2 different positions, and you are spending more money to do it, but not as much as if you went out and signed 2 players. So that's why I like it.
Yeah, and then not to mention, it's just like they had to get at the position because their scheme change meant that basically that Casey Hayward wasn't going to be on this team. So I think they had to address the position. I wouldn't be surprised if they draft another guy. Plus, I still like the secondary they kind of have around them with, Trevon Murray, having, I think I said that name right. I never get it right. Having a good rookie season. Nate Hobbs having a very good rookie season at the slot. I think they got some good pieces in that secondary.
Yeah, it should be interesting. All right, Kyle. Now for my next one, number 4 of the negatives. I'm going for our teams here. The Patriots trading away Shaq Mason for peanuts. I did not think this was a great move by New England to basically just give a good guard away to a team that it's not crazy to think that these two teams could meet each other in a Super Bowl. I'm not sure how likely that is, but it's not out of the question. But regardless of that, just getting rid of him, seemingly to get rid of him, it wasn't that didn't save that much money. Weird move.
I agree. Weird move. It's a very Patriots move just to kind of abandon on a guy for seemingly no reason. I understand that they still have some guys on the roster that are going to be able to fill in the space. I still think it's going to be a pretty good offensive line when you look at the players there. That being said, I'm also not a huge fan of just, giving away a Pro Bowl caliber player. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with that. It's a very Patriots thing to do. We'll see how they address it. I still kind of have faith that this team's going to be solid, but overall, you're giving away a good player for nothing. I just don't understand. It feels like I don't understand the value of football players anymore. Like why is Shaq Mason going for nothing? Why is Amari Cooper going for nothing? Just because you have to move somebody. It's just like,
right.
Shouldn't that still net something?
Yeah, like you would think that multiple teams would want Shaq Mason, and therefore there'd be a bidding war that way. Like you wouldn't think that, like, oh, we need to get rid of Shaq Mason. Let's give him to the first team that we call.
Yeah, I don't get it. Because even I make a lot of comparisons here, but looking at the NBA, Ben Simmons didn't play all season. His drafts or his trade value couldn't have been any lower than it was, and he was still traded for James Harden.
Right.
I don't know. It just seems weird that just because it's you have to make a move to clear cap space, then all of a sudden, no, okay, we'll get a 6th-round pick back.
Yeah, very, very odd. And then for some of these guys, it's like, okay, well then you get like significant values. So Amari Cooper just goes for basically nothing for $20 million, but then the Jaguars pay almost that for Christian Kirk. It's like, well, wouldn't the Jaguars give up some value for Amari Cooper? Like how did you two not speak to each other?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like NFL GMs are just lazy. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Number 5. Where are you going?
Should I just couple it together then? I guess I'll say Tampa Bay Buccaneers trade for Shaq Mason. Weirdly, I think actually kind of an upgrade because they let Alex Kappa walk in free agency. And then they bring in Mason. And I think that he is a better – I think Kappa's a good guard. I think Mason's a better guard. So you're basically getting a better player at the position, and you're paying a lot less money because Kappa got a pretty good offseason contract, if I believe. So I think that's a good move for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that helps. Obviously, losing Ali Marpet makes it tougher because they still need to replace that guard somewhere. So we'll see how that works. But yeah, again, I agree. It was a big weakness, and to give up very little draft capital, which, again, they shouldn't really care about draft capital that much anyways. They should be focused more on just trying to win now in the first place. So even if it was, I mean, when I made my video, I said, if we give up a 1st-round pick, I'm happy with this. And we gave up a 5th. So, good move by Tampa Bay. Jason Light, what a glow-up he's had these past few years, huh? From one of the worst, considered one of the worst GMs in football to consider one of the best now.
Signing Tom Brady helps,
Yeah, that does make things easy. It's really GM Tom Brady he's the best in football.
It appears so, but yeah, I mean, it's a shrewd move though. I think it's good. It's not quite as good as drafting Roberto Aguayo, but I think it's a really good move and a really it worked out for Tampa Bay this offseason once again.
Yeah, it's amazing. Same guy who drafted Vernon Hargreaves is Super Bowl champion, Kyle. Just incredible.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Let's go to the next one. How about this one? This is kind of one that's not getting talked about a ton because I think it happened right when one of the big trades happened. The Vikings extending Kirk Cousins. I guess my question is with this, what are we doing here, Minnesota? Are we really just going to stick in this, maybe they feel as though they were close last year and had the bad talent around or had the bad coaching and want to see it all together. But doesn't this feel like it could have been a perfect opportunity to get rid of Kirk Cousins and kind of really start this rebuild?
It could have been. And then not to mention, if I'm not mistaken, he just got a contract.
Yeah.
So why did you need to do this?
Mhm.
Like, was Kirk Cousins threatening to hold out? And if Kirk
Right.
Cousins is threatening to hold out, why don't you just say okay?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Not the
know.
worst thing.
It seemed like a weird situation to just say, okay, well, we'll set up this contract the way it is, and the Kirk Cousins has just killed free agency. I mean, this guy is maybe one of the best offseason negotiators I've ever seen. So
Hmm.
it's just once again it works out in his favor. I don't understand why the Vikings felt like they had to do this, and I don't understand the timing of it whatsoever.
Yeah. I look forward to the Kirk Cousins themed Martin Scorsese movie coming out. Similar like the Wolf of Wall Street, of just him swindling all these NFL teams out of hundreds of millions.
Oh man, he should just be like a gun for hire and just keep negotiating himself like $40 million contracts. Honestly,
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, it's kind of interesting. We saw like Darrell Revis do that at the corner position. Well, what if we see kind of a little bit broader? But like, I had this thought the other day. This is completely unrelated, but that's kind of what we do here. Like, what if Justin Herbert said, like after he, ends his rookie deal, says like, okay, I'm going to sign a 4-year deal or whatever, but after the fourth year, I can't be franchise tagged. You make that a clause in the deal, and then you just sign 1-year deals or like 2-year deals. Go to teams that will spend, go all in to support you for the couple of years that they have, go all out so you can keep on these good teams and get like huge contracts.
yeah. I mean, so like, yeah, it is interesting because like even just circling back to the Cousins thing, like if
Mhm.
you told like Steelers fans after watching Ben Roethlisberger last season, you could have
Mhm.
Kirk Cousins for $45 million or sign Mick for one season or sign Mitch Trubisky. What do you think Steelers fans would say?
Yeah, probably take Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. I mean, he could just go around and say, "Hey, you had a crappy quarterback last year. Let me help you out."
Yeah, especially or like just like okay, let's say it like Tampa Bay if they didn't have Brady, it's like hey, there you go get Cousins, and then have them spend against the cap for the next 2 years, go all in now with Cousins. He could win a Super Bowl this way, Kyle.
Yeah. You would have been before Brady came back, you would have been thrilled if Kirk Cousins got traded to the Buccaneers.
Oh yeah, that would Kyle. I was saying, hey, maybe Jordan Love to the Bucks could be a good move. Like I was very much down bad before Brady announced his unretirement.
Yeah. Well, now you're back and Tampa doesn't need any more glow up, so it's okay.
No, we
Um,
don't. But I'm enjoying the ones we have.
but yeah, very peculiar move that like they just decided he needed a new contract.
Yeah.
So now he runs through looking at it now, his contract runs through 2023 and it reduces his cap number in 2022 by $14 million, but he's going to get paid soon. So,
Yeah. That's kind of it's not too dissimilar from the Matt Ryan deal. It's like they have this new regime. Why not let's make the move now? All right. What's a good move, Kyle?
all right, let's go to Miami. I'm going to go with I got some here. There's some good moves at the end too. I'm not doing it in order.
Hmm.
Dolphin signed Teron Armstead. Uh, listen, I know the injury history. We've talked about it verbatim since the offseason started. I hope he's on the field a lot because he's obviously very good. But as things stand, Teron Armstead is paid as the 12th highest left tackle in per year average.
Yeah.
He's not the 12th best left tackle in football. He's probably one of the top four.
Hmm.
So, I mean, getting a player of that caliber at that kind of dollars because of injury history, I know injury history is kind of big. Best ability is availability, but having that kind of talent at that price, I think this is a big move for Miami. It could be Trent Williams asked to go into San Francisco. I think this could be a really nice move for Miami getting him.
Yeah. I don't hate it. I like it as well. Typically I'm not as big on like going out and paying the offensive linemen like superstar money. I kind of like having like a 5 offensive linemen who are solid instead of one who's a star. But the flip side is when you have the kind of money that you have with Tua being on a rookie deal, this is what you can get away with. And you're right, it could be sort of the Trent Williams in Miami. Again, not going to say he's going to be Trent Williams good, but he's still a star left tackle there that can definitely help. And again, that's not all they addressed as well. So I think you could also argue maybe they should have, sort of divided this money up between the offensive line a little bit more and helped out some other aspects. But at the same time, does the move help them? Yeah, the move helps them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things they could do, but you're getting one of the best at the position. And I think that goes a long way. I think you can address some of the other positions in the draft, and maybe find cheap options to replace. You're getting that most important spot though.
Yeah, that's not the most important spot with Tua.
Yeah, that's true. I guess
Hmm.
I forgot he's turned around, but
Uh-huh.
still pretty good.
Yeah, no. What's typically considered the most you have to compete with guys who are it's the most important spot for them.
When Teddy Bridgewater takes over as starter in Week 7, it'll be
Right.
the most important spot.
Yes, exactly. All right. Okay. I'll go here with. I'll guess I'll kind of continue this. This might be on your list too. Or I'm not sure. I'm having to for my negative. The Chiefs trading away Tyreek Hill. I just think this is not what you do when you have a Tyreek Hill, similar to when you have like a star quarterback like Russell Wilson. I think wide receiver, it's not quite as important, but it's still important. I'd rather, I know they added Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdes-Scantling with that money, along with, Ronald Jones, and then they, get some draft picks as well. So it's not a terrible trade necessarily, but I just feel like the connection with Hill and Mahomes was so great. I think you run with that until the wheels fall off.
Yeah, it's interesting because I haven't read like into the details behind this. I haven't seen like the Kansas City hit piece or anything like that, which
Mhm.
usually comes out in the local paper the next day. But like,
Well, I mean, with a guy like Hill who has a squeaky clean record, it's going to be hard to make that happen.
yeah, honestly.
Hmm.
But it's just like it just seemed like that they offered him a contract, he said no, and it says, okay, I guess we'll trade you then. Like
Hmm.
that was your entire negotiation, which is like, okay. Because they
Uh-huh.
offered him a contract, he says no, and it would have from what I heard, it was pretty similar to this one. So I think it's interesting to see this work out where basically they just decided, okay, we're going to trade him. And then once again, this was another team, which this was kind of late in the process, but I'm assuming they were negotiating a little longer than a week with him for his new contract before the trade happened. Like another team that really seemingly didn't have a plan for wide receiver once Tyreek Hill was gone because they trade him and now there's basically nothing there.
Yeah, and it just I don't know. I mean, like again, Juju and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, I think are like fine, but like I wouldn't consider them more than role players at the NFL level, right? I mean, like, and you're spending almost the money you're spending almost the money that Miami is going to be paying Hill, and more money than you were paying Hill, than on those two guys. So that's just why it's kind of a weird move. And again, someone like Hill just makes the entire team better. The only thing I had a theory on this, Kyle. This is kind of a harebrained scheme. Is it possible this is almost a game theory type move where you want to get teams to play less cover two against you, so you're going to get rid of your best receiver to try and like allow that to happen? A guy who like teams almost intentionally play cover two because of Hill. You're almost like trying to get them out of that coverage, and that means you're getting rid of your best player to do it, other than Mahomes.
Maybe, but I think that's overthinking it because I still think guys are gonna. I still think teams are gonna play cover too. Like, you know,
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
yeah, it's just like okay, it might
The
work, but
Raiders
at the
won't.
same, what's that?
The Raiders might not.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they don't
Uh,
like to do that.
so yeah, I mean, it's just I think that's one. I still think teams are gonna scheme the same way. They're just gonna say, hey, make sure Demarcus Robinson doesn't beat us deep, or whoever
Hmm.
the wide receivers are there now, I look at it now and say, okay, your best options, Travis Kelsey and then Juju Smith-Schuster. I think that's a
Hmm.
problem.
Yeah, I think so as well. We also have a chat saying best move of the offseason is Kyle's new background. People going crazy for Kyle's background. Oh,
There
it
it
got
is.
lighter as you turn back. Look at that back
I
there.
know. Look at that. All right.
Hmm.
Well, appreciate it.
Uh-huh. There you go. Didn't mean to fully derail the show just at that. Where are we? Is it my turn or your turn?
My turn. I'll
Your
just
turn.
couple off that one. Tyreek Hill traded by the Miami Dolphins trade for Tyreek Hill. Uh, I don't really know how this is going to look. I think Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill is going to be interesting. I think it could be very exciting too, and I
Hmm.
think that this is going to be an awesome. I think this is going to be an awesome move for the Miami Dolphins. I think it makes a lot of sense. You're going to give Tua every chance to succeed now, and he's got plenty of offensive weapons now. I think this is going to be awesome to watch.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that this should be a blast. And at the very least, you'll know with Tua, right? Like this, at the very worst case scenario, is 1 year into the Mike McDaniel era. You know if you have a quarterback, or because unless Tua gets injured, there's like zero chance Tua plays 17 games, and you're left wondering, is Tua the guy after this year, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot of questions about him. He's going to be under the microscope. He's got to perform. I still think there's things to like about him.
Yeah,
Even, I talk a lot of crap because it's the rival, but
sure.
I still think there's reasons to like him. And I still think that there's some reason for optimism. There's some things I don't like. And I think that's perfectly fair too, to say I'm a little concerned about Tua based on his first couple seasons.
Yeah. Oh, sorry,
But
good.
he's going to have plenty of weapons now to succeed. This is a huge get for them. And I mean, there's no reason that this offense shouldn't be at least top 20 in the league, bare minimum.
Well, yeah, I would hope it's. I mean, what was it? Was it bottom 12 last year? I feel like it wasn't. It wasn't that bad. What? Maybe I'll have to check. But anyways, yeah. I mean, kind of building off of your point about the making fun of Tua, of maybe the most annoying fan base in football is Tuanon. Of the Tua fans are just a wild bunch. I mean, I saw the stat that was just hilarious throwing around, is that Tua has like the highest completion percentage of like 20 plus yard pass. It's like, yeah, because he's like 18 for 20. Or it's like, it percentage
Yeah,
is like
he barely
60%.
threw it downfield.
Yeah, it's like he barely did. And like, if you watch the film, you can clearly tell like that's not a shot. Like Tua does get too much criticism. Tua also gets way too much praise from his fans. That's also the very true thing.
Yeah. I agree. And it'll be interesting to see how it works out this season. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's I think that they had a very good offseason. They had money to spend, and they definitely went out and spent it. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out for them.
Yeah. So my next negative here, the Jaguars overpaying everyone. I wasn't sure which one to go with here. I know Christian Kirk is the popular one, but like my thought with Christian Kirk is like at least they got like a good player with Christian Kirk. Like they overpaid for like at least like a solid player. Seems like with these other ones like Aluakon and Fatuski, who they're giving decent amount of money to. It's like I'm not even sure if you're good. Cam Robinson, I'm not even sure if you're good, and you're giving him $16 million for 1 year with the franchise tag. Like Evan Ingram getting $9 million, Zay Jones getting $8 million a year. Like a couple of these moves are okay. I like the Darius Williams signing. Like these, Brandon Sheriff will certainly help your team, and you needed help there. So when you're Jacksonville, you do have to overpay, but they took it to the extreme.
Yeah, I think that there's we went, we kind of destroyed this offseason in the last couple of weeks, so we don't need to go too far into it again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of this just doesn't make any sense. And, I think you added a bunch of players that might add 2 wins to your team. I think this team's going to improve by default because it was the worst team in football last year. But at the same time, like, I just think that, this team might be a 6-win team next year instead of a 4-win team. I don't think there was really that much improvement by throwing money around.
Yeah, it's like AT says like at least a lot of only 1 year deals. That's true. A lot of them you can get out of without like not too far. But like the Christian Kirk one, like people keep saying, oh, well, look at the guaranteed money. I looked at the guaranteed money. After 2 years, you would still owe him $10 million if you cut him. So like you're basically paying him for at least 3 years of this deal, unless you're planning on cutting him and getting $10 million in dead cap. Which, if that's a pro of the contract, this is not a good contract.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I agree. There's no justification, I think, to a lot of these. I think it doesn't make any sense. You splash the cash, but I mean, there's also, you could also, overpay good players and try and get them to come.
Right.
So,
yeah.
There's worse things. Like, I'm going to get into some of these. I think I'd rather overpay better players than this, or at least try to. Obviously, the big thing is they have to want to go to Jacksonville. But if those guys say no, then that doesn't mean you should just go crazy on whoever you can get.
Yeah, I completely agree. You can find better ways to do this. All right, Kyle. Next one here. Next positive. Where are you going?
By the way, I just wanted to clarify too, because we talked about it. Dolphins were 22nd in offensive EPA last year. So
okay, so soon that top 20, they're right knocking on the doorstep.
Yeah, they got to climb up 2 spots, or else this is a waste of time. No.
Exactly.
Let's go back to the wide receiver. Well, I will go with Raiders trade for Devontae Adams. I think that this is a good move. Now, Adams is a year and some change older than Tyreek Hill, but he went for 2 picks instead of 5 picks. And I was looking at I got to look at the dollars again, but I believe they paid him less too. So I think this is a really good move for the Raiders. We were on this last season. This was a really fun offense to watch last season. And then things kind of got derailed for a few weeks with that Henry Ruggs, his whole situation. And I thought that they were really struggling to find a wide receiver option once he was gone. Well, they found the wide receiver option. This is going to be really good. He's paired with apparently his best friend in the entire world, Derek Carr. And Raiders are buzzing. I really like this offseason.
Yeah, Derek Carr is an all-time guy who gets excited when he gets a number one receiver. I remember the Antonio Brown stuff when that happened for the month that looked like that was going to be a good idea. He was also very pumped up.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, how good of a friend? Like, does Derek Carr just throw like killer barbecues or something? Like, I don't know. Like, how good of a friend is he? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you think that's it. Maybe it's just like a great cook. Like he's like the food he makes. Like you always want to have it because like no one else comes close.
Well, then the funny thing is that we there was all this talk last season. I feel like I heard it every week I watched the Packers game. Was that all this talk last season about the relationship between Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers? They want to play with each other always. No, it wasn't good enough. Maybe Aaron Rodgers isn't a good cook. Maybe that's the thing.
I think, yeah, I do love how too. This is also like clearly the issue that this happened was because Aaron Rodgers isn't a good enough friend. Like the way that we could always just somehow find a way to put things back to Aaron Rodgers' personality is the problem. The media is just, I say it as myself. No one does it better than us in the football, the talking heads in the NFL of turning it into personal attacks towards Aaron Rodgers.
We try our best. But yeah, I mean, on the football field, this is going to be an awesome move. I'm excited to watch this team. I'm really excited to watch this team. I'm interested to see how this stacks up. The AFC West is fascinating enough, and I think this is the team I want to watch the most. Like, honestly, I think I'm more excited to watch this team than Russell Wilson on Denver.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, which is kind of crazy to think. But yeah, I don't totally disagree. The argument against it is, are they giving too much? Is this like when the Chicago Bears traded for Khalil Mack, another team involving the Raiders, where you're getting a great player, but you're giving too much capital right now, and you're not close enough to winning a Super Bowl to where you're going to turn from a good team to like maybe a 11-win team. And I know they made the playoffs last year. But maybe the argument is like, are you still going to be able to compete with, some of these elite of the elite in the AFC type teams? Can you compete with Cincinnati? And maybe you made a move to get yourself to losing the divisional round. That would be the counter argument.
Yeah, I guess the good thing is that, I mean, obviously you're looking at it and say, oh, that's 2 potential starters you're losing, but it's only 2 picks. Like I said, Miami gave up 5 picks for Tyreek Hill, and I still like that Tyreek Hill trade for Miami. And then, I think, if you can make the playoffs, I think that just gives you a chance. I mean, this team was on the 7-yard line against the team that made the Super Bowl in the AFC. Like 7-yard line with a chance to win the game, I believe.
It would have been, they were down 7, but they probably would have gone for 2.
Yeah, so chance to at least tie the game against the team that made the Super Bowl. I mean, it's not like, I think if as long as you get yourself in that top 7, I don't think it's crazy to say you're miles off from making a Super Bowl run, and I think that they were already in that 7, and this just bolsters their case.
Yeah. Also, this one is a great point. DC to DA, 4 plus 17, 21, Blackjack, baby. I mean, a nickname like Blackjack, you have to make the move. I mean, you can't not make the move once you have a nickname like that.
Yeah, exactly. So just overall good stuff from the Raiders, I think.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of that, one of my negatives, kind of obvious, might be the biggest negative on this list, quite frankly. The Packers getting rid of Davante Adams. I hate this move. I don't get it. They still haven't done anything. At least the Chiefs made small moves to address the wide receiver hole after losing Tyreek Hill. It's still Allen Lazard, wide receiver number 1 right now in Green Bay. You're trying to win a Super Bowl. I just don't see how this helps you this year. It might help you in future years, but for today, they had the money to do it. They had the cap space to keep him if they wanted. Maybe he didn't want to play anymore, but part of that is because of what you did, not giving him the big deal earlier. So regardless, that's why I have this one here.
I agree. And then once again, it's just, we've beaten this to death, but at the same time, so you look at the Packers' recent history with drafting, they draft Jordan Love, which is fine. But you could have got someone to help your team now, which now they want to go all in for Aaron Rodgers, which is, change of course, which obviously winning 2 MVPs helps that. The next, you draft AJ Dillon when you had a running back. I like AJ Dillon, but they didn't draft a wide receiver in that scenario too. You draft Amari Rodgers, and he seemingly has been okay, but now you need him to be kind of good. And then you have 2 picks now, 22 and 28. You're not getting your pick basically of which wide receiver you want unless you're packaging those 2 to move up. It's going to be interesting to see what they do because they need talent at those positions, definitely.
Yeah, I like this comment. Green Bay have a sneaky bad wide receiver core, in my opinion. That's a good call there. That's a little clever one there, Kyle.
Sneaky bad.
Yeah, exactly. All right. What's another good move that was made this offseason?
Another good move. All right, let me pull up my list. Let's go back to the wide receiver well.
Okay.
The Los Angeles Rams signed Allen Robinson. He's making per annual salary. He's making outside top 15 highest paid wide receivers. I think this is a really good move. If he bounces back to the level he was, I think this is a great move for Los Angeles. I think this is a huge upgrade to what they had. Obviously, Odell Beckham getting hurt, I think, kind of made it easy for them. And I think that this is, am I a little concerned about Allen Robinson's last season? Yes, I didn't think he was that good, but he was also on Chicago, which, I think also had one of the worst off seasons in the NFL this season, and also doesn't have a lot of talent and was trying to groom a rookie quarterback. So I think he's due for a huge bounce back season. I think he's going to be awesome in this offense. I think him and Cup's going to be very fun. I think this is a really good move for Los Angeles.
Yeah, and he's kind of the first pure vertical plus receiver threat that we've seen in the McVay offense, right? We've seen guys who can do it, right? Cooper Kupp can do it, Odell can do it, Robert Woods could do it, but it's this is kind of the first guy we've seen really just be, that's what he's known for. So I'm interested in seeing how it fits in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be interesting to see for sure. I didn't love the trade after the fact, but at the same time, and we'll probably actually talk about it because it's also on my list, but at the same time, I think just adding this player to this team, I think makes a lot of sense. Maybe they find a way to get Odell Beckham back on the cheap too, and then that's probably the best wide receiver core in the NFL.
Yeah. Kyle, there are no rules. Just go to let's talk about the Robert Woods of it all now, if you wanted to touch on that.
Well, that was also on my list, so you want me to just take it off the list and then you can do too?
Well, I don't have it on my list. I don't think it's because I kind of put the 2 moves together. So I didn't have it as a bad move by the Rams. Just simply, again, it's weird because you're giving up a solid player for nothing. But I think the flip side is I'm packaging kind of the Allen Robinson, Robert Woods stuff together. And when you look at it that way, it's okay, you're saving money basically, or at least not spending much more money to get an upgrade at the position. So that's kind of why I don't have it on my list. But you could certainly argue if you put each move in a vacuum, it would be a negative.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mainly just put it as a move I like. I like the Titans trading for Robert Woods. That was on my list. And yeah, I think he's a good receiver. I think the best version of Allen Robinson's a lot better than the best version of Robert Woods, but I think he's a very good number 2 option. And I think when you look at it from the Tennessee perspective, having Julio Jones having that disappointing season and struggle with injuries, I think AJ Brown and Robert Woods make a lot of sense together. And I think that's really good for this Tennessee offense. And I think it's going to help them, especially, as Derrick Henry gets older and he, had an injury last season. If he's injured again, I think this will help weather the storm.
Yeah, no, I have a film study coming out about why I like the move to add Robert Woods from the Titans' perspective coming out tomorrow. So I won't be able to look out for that. I'm with you. And I think it's a good scheme fit, right? It's good. It's kind of similar. It's a lot of crossing routes over the middle to play action and stuff. That's what we've seen Robert Woods really thrive in. So I have no, usually when you make these moves and always one of the question marks is, well, how will you fit our scheme? Probably pretty well because it's not that different.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think he'll fit in pretty seamlessly. And I think the Titans quietly did some really nice things. Some things I have some questions about, but they're giving Tannehill another chance at this, and I think it makes a lot of sense given their roster.
Yeah. All right. For a bad move here, we don't spend forever on this one because, again, we talked about it. I got Eagles focusing on pass rush. They also re-signed Derek Barnett. Eagles love their pass rush. That's what they pay attention to, the Hassan Reddick signing. I don't think it's a horrible move. At the end of the day, again, you're getting good players. I just felt like I would have liked to see them maybe spend some of this money in other areas on their roster. But as a whole, again, not a huge negative, but one of the things, these are no particular order. It was one of the 15 things. I feel like they could have spent it elsewhere.
Yeah, I actually, on my honorable mention, I had Hassan Reddick to the Eagles just because
Okay.
as an individual signing, I
Mm-hmm.
like Hassan Reddick on that team. I think that's nasty. That being
Mm-hmm.
said, in the whole grand scheme of their free agency, I don't love or their offseason. I don't love everything they've done because they didn't add a lot of talent elsewhere. But I
Mm-hmm.
think just as a signing, I think it makes a lot of sense to their team. I think it helps them in that position. But yeah, they should have done more in other positions. So I don't fault them necessarily for getting guys at the pass rush. I just wish that they added more elsewhere as well.
I get what you're saying. And again, it's good to be great at something, right? Where especially like
Yeah.
on defense, where now you can spend the resources in coverage to help yourself out that way. It's just not how I view team building. I'd rather build stuff on the back end and scheme up the front seven.
Yeah. So it's an interesting move. I'm curious to see what this team looks like after the draft potentially. And,
Mm-hmm.
when we get into like August, because if they make some good signings, I think that this could be a really good defense. But I still think that they need to add a few players to this team.
Yeah, because also you look at their the highest paid players. Number one, Javon Hargrave. Number three, Fletcher Cox. Number five, Brandon Graham. And then you go out and pay Hassan Reddick. So spending a lot of money, and not this year in terms of cap, but the annual money. Spending a lot of money on those four guys, but they're good guys. At least none of them are back. It's not like you have Frank Clark there. They're good players. So that's the flip side. Want to
Yeah.
move on to a good one?
Yeah, let's do that. And they also they're among the top 10 teams in salary cap right now. And I believe they have three first round picks. So
Mm-hmm.
still plenty of chances to add some talent to this team too. So
For sure. I
probably
like
not
where they're at.
yeah. Let's go with I'll go a bigger picture one. I like the Bengals offensive line moves. I like getting Alex Kappa. I think he's a solid offensive lineman. I like getting Ted Karras for cheap. I
Mm-hmm.
think he's a solid and, like I said, especially cheap offensive lineman that they had the worst guards in the NFL. That had to be addressed. It had to be addressed, and they absolutely did it. I think that at the very least, they're going to be solid at the interior offensive line, or at least should be. And then, of course, the big one on this one, which I think was the best move of the three, Lyle Collins for basically $10 million a year. That's a really good right tackle you're getting for $10 million a year, pairing him next to Jonah Williams over there. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's all of a sudden quickly become a very good offensive line. I think that's a really good move from Cincinnati as they, look to win the AFC again, which is just proving to be even more difficult now with teams stacking up.
Yeah. Don't they still need another guard though? Like that's kind of my one issue I still have is like, okay, now you have Alex Kappa to play right guard, but now who's going to play left guard? Unless is that going to be Ted Carreras, but who's going to play center? Are we really going to go back to the Jackson Carman well? Because Quentin Spain, who was solid he was actually a decent left guard for them. He's a free agent, so I think re-sign him, and I'm with you. I feel great about it. I need one more re-signing though. Like that's just I need one more guard.
Well, and not to mention, you have the 31st pick in the draft. You have more draft capital
Sure.
later that you can
Mm-hmm.
address this. I thought the thing was that they needed players badly, and they went and
Mm-hmm.
got players. And not to mention, I think they're all very good, at least starting caliber players. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you fill at least three of those four offensive line spots, you got Williams obviously over there too. That's four of your spots. Now you're just looking to fill in the final piece. I still think that's a lot better than where they were in February in the Super Bowl.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, I agree. I think they've gotten a lot better. I'm just saying. To me, it's not an A+ until you get that other guard, but it's still it's a top 50. I totally agree with it being on the top 15 list. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Worst move. Let's talk about the Seahawks. They haven't touched on them that much. Let's go to cutting Bobby Wagner. Again, this is just one of those it's weird in football how you just get rid of legitimately good players. Bobby Wagner might not be what he once was. Is a good football player. They got rid of him for nothing. Just kind of an odd move, and especially he fits that scheme so well, which is players don't really fit that scheme anymore because that's not what teams do. He still does, and they're like, yeah, we don't need you anymore. We're all right.
Yeah. I'm never a huge fan of getting rid of good players. I'll be honest. That's a hot
Mm-hmm.
take.
Yeah.
And then it's not only that, just the whole Seahawks offseason doesn't make sense to me.
They're
so
on
they
this
don't
list
want
3 times, Kyle.
you
On
have
my
them
back.
again.
Yeah, no, because I had the not addressing the quarterback position after the Wilson trade, and Bobby Wagner getting cut.
Well, not to mention, it's so you decide that you want to, kind of blow this thing up. You don't want to pay Russell Wilson for whatever reason. You decide not to pay Russell Wilson, and then you cut Bobby Wagner, who, like you said, is invaluable to that defense and their scheme. Then you go and pay Quandre Diggs $40 million. And then you go and acquire Noah Fant in this trade and then pay Will Disley 3 years, $24 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? Like, I don't know. Like, it's like you don't want to spend money, but you're also spending money. Like, I don't know what direction this team wants to go in.
Yeah, well, I know what direction they are going in.
Down, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not very high on this team this offseason. Obviously, that's not a hot take, but this is just a confusing offseason. Like I said, I'll go back to this. It doesn't seem like they had a plan going into this, or if they have a plan, someone smarter than me has to spell it out, because I don't see it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's give us a good move, Kyle.
Let's just go with JC Jackson.
Sure.
I think this needed to be addressed for Los Angeles. They paid a lot of money, but he's a very good cornerback, so I think it makes a lot of sense. The scheme is going to be interesting to me, but I still think that JC Jackson has the skill set that can be kind of versatile. He just really hasn't had to do it a whole lot. And yeah, I think it makes perfect sense to go and get a guy like that. I think he's going to fit the Chargers well, and I think it makes a lot of sense to go and get a number one guy.
Yeah, and like a guy like J.C. Jackson, who's arguably like an elite player at his position, they just don't come around in free agency that often. Usually, the teams that draft them will lock them up. So when they do, come available, you want to be able to make that move, and that's what that's why I'm a fan of it.
Not to mention, it just seems like there's not a lot of times that I can think about in like NFL history where teams have paid a lot for a number one corner in free agency and then really regretted it. Like, number one corners just kind of help. The only two times I can think of where it was really, really bad is because a team didn't identify what its scheme was when they were signing a player. So you have a situation like Darrelle Revis getting stuck in his own scheme defense, or Nnamdi Asomugha getting stuck in his own scheme defense. I think that, going and getting a number one guy, a top guy at his position, especially the cornerback position, is hugely important.
Yeah, I agree. Also, the Darrelle Revis thing, I always sort of feel like Darrelle Revis was fine with the Buccaneers. He wasn't as good as he was in a man scheme. Like, he was still all right with us. Made a Pro Bowl.
Yeah,
for what that's worth.
The Asomugha one was infinitely worse.
Yeah,
and he was also aging at the time too, so it didn't help. But yeah, I mean, that's fair. But at the same time, he did take a little bit of a step back and then got back into a man scheme and looked awesome again.
Yeah, no, for sure, it's fair. I'm it's one of those weird things I always bring up as a Buccaneers fan. Let's stick with the Chargers. I have a bad one, Kyle. This is maybe going to be a hot take, but those are always fun. I'm going to say Khalil Mack. It's not that I don't think that this move helps them, or I think this is a bad. It's weird because I don't think it's like a horrible move, because it does help them and you have the extra cap space. But I just don't get why we're going after a guy who was not great last year. Only had about 300 snaps, so only a third of what we're used to seeing from Mac, but wasn't as good last year. Then comes off an injury, is on the wrong side of 30, and you're giving him essentially $20 million a year for 3 years. Now the cap hit isn't that high this year. It goes up to $27 million next year. So, but if you cut him, you have to pay $10 million in dead cap. So you're definitely hoping that you keep him for more than 1 year, I would assume, and giving a guy who I think is a big risk here, a lot of money, and giving up a second-round draft pick. I would have felt way better about signing one of the many premium pass rushers that were available. Like, if they got Hassan Reddick, wouldn't that make this like 1,000 times better, where you get someone like him? And I'm just throwing a name out there. There's a lot of guys that could have gone after, and like, you're not having to take the risk of maybe he isn't as good because he wasn't that great last year, and his pressures have been consistently down for the past couple of years now.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I feel like this is a move. This screams a move of a team that feels like it's ready to win a Super Bowl and feels like it's low risk, right? Like, oh, we don't really need that second round pick that badly because we're that close to winning the whole thing. Like, doesn't it kind of feel that way?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I get your point. Yeah, I don't think that they should. I mean, they are close, I think. I would rather these resources allocated, again, getting more depth, getting more players. I think they need more guys who can start as opposed to a star, I guess is kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. I didn't love the move either. I guess the one thing you could look at as the positive is like his contract looks kind of bad now, but at the same time, isn't the salary cap supposed to have a huge boom next season? And maybe then it's not as bad of a look. But at the same time, I'm with you though. I'd much rather have Hassan Reddick right now at this point in his career. Maybe he has a bounce back season and stays healthy, but I don't know. It just seemed like a weird move at the time. It seemed like an overpay, and we'll see what happens with that move. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked though if he's good for the Chargers next season.
Sure. The reason I don't like it is because there's a risk involved. Like,
Yeah.
if this works, if Khalil Mack goes back to Defensive Player of the Year candidate Khalil Mack, this is a great move. I just think that, like, what are the odds of that happening versus, you could have paid Von Miller the same amount yearly. You would have to give him more years, and maybe he would have still chose Buffalo. But, like, just throwing that out there isn't, like, there's a lot of guys. There was a ton of free agents that were, some that can stop the run. Khalil Mack's run defense wasn't great last year. And, like, that's a whole big thing that, like, you're trying to get the run defense better. Like, he's not going to be someone who overly helps with that. I would have paid more attention to stopping the run, maybe helping the coverage unit out a little bit more, which, they address those things as well, but I would have rather spent more on that. That's all my thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. Ready to move on?
Yeah. What's your, so I have, we haven't been keeping, I have 3 left. I think I might have done my math wrong because I have 3 left. How many do you have left?
3.
Okay, so I'm right then. All right. Oh, no, because you did double. So, yeah, I think I did only doing 14, but that's fine. You go ahead with we have 3 left. Go with your next one.
I got a couple lower moves here. Actually, these are all lower end moves compared to some of the big ones.
Okay.
But I'm going to go with, let's do Jets, the New York Jets, who I like their offseason. New York Jets signed DJ Reed. Look, just going for the money here, JC Jackson's making $16 million a year and some change per average annual salary. Carlton Davis, who, spoiler coming up on my list, is making $15 million a year per average annual salary. DJ Reed is very good. Now, is he that good? No, but he's also very good. $11 million a year per average annual salary. I think that's a bargain right now for a good cornerback. I think it's a really good move for the Jets. And, they had a number of moves I liked. I wanted to put one on the list, and I think this was my favorite one. So that's the one I went with.
Yeah. I'm with you. I like it. I think the Jets are weird because, like, I don't know if any one move totally belongs on this list, but, like, they made like 17 moves that would belong on, like, the top 50 best moves. You know what I mean? So it's like, but they're all like 30 through 50 in that range. Still, maybe not 17, but you get the idea. They made a lot of really good small moves. It had a very sneaky good off season. I still, it would have been a knockout of the park, Kyle, if they managed to land that Tyreek Hill trade. But still, I think a very good off season.
Yep. And they had the draft capital that they could have given up to. It's crazy. I mean, it didn't work out for them, but yeah, I mean, that was the interesting one. But still a lot of signings I really like on this team.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. You want to just move on to the next one now?
Yes.
All right. Okay, I'll do this. I'm going to just keep doing this with the poor Carolina Panthers. Not adjusting the quarterback position. I mean, again, what are we doing here, Carolina? Like, you have to figure something out. I get it's not so easy. It's kind of one of those things where it's probably the most difficult position in football to get, but it's also the most important. And they're literally doing nothing. It's not like they even like. Can you sign a Mitchell Trubisky, Panthers? Like, what are we doing here? Are we doing another year of Sam Darnold? In that coach's photo of all the coaches, which is a hilarious photo, by the way, Matt Rule looked like he's aged 100 years in that photo. I mean, this is not going well.
Is it a bad sign when your most notable signing of an offseason's Johnny Hekker?
Yeah, hey, put some respect on Matt Ioannidis' name, Kyle.
That's fair. I do have on my honorable mentions. But at the same time, I don't know. It's very weird that they decided to do this. It'd be exhausting to be a fan of this team, right?
Yeah, I would speak from experience. It's very exhausting because the Buccaneers were the Carolina Panthers 10 years ago.
Yeah, I would not like myself if I was a fan of the Carolina Panthers. That's what I have to say. I just think I don't know. It's very odd that what they've done this offseason. Once again, it's a quiet offseason for them. And another team where they didn't splash the cash around like Jacksonville, but I just look at this team and say, I don't really know what got better this offseason. I don't think anything did.
Yeah, I don't know. And you don't have that much draft capital because you spent it all on Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Deshaun Watson deciding not to go there. The Saints obviously have some things that you can like and say, okay, we're still optimistic about this, this, and this. This
Mhm.
just has to be a massive kick in the nuts to the Panthers, right? Not getting a guy like that.
I don't know how to. Panthers fans might be happy about it as well. Again, when it was rumored for him going to Tampa Bay, there was a big part of me that's like, I don't want to have to deal with that. So I think it depends.
Yeah, I just mean from a football perspective, because it seemed like this
Mhm.
was the team that for a couple of years now was kind of circling Houston as like, we want this guy. This is the guy we want on our team.
Mhm.
And you didn't end up with him.
Kyle, could we see something similar to like football, like basketball a little bit, where we see teams like I was thinking about the Brooklyn Nets who made the playoffs and then Kyrie and KD went there, of like maybe being the Denver Broncos of almost like hosting a tryout of just like the non-quarterback position. Like, is that a legitimate strategy for the Panthers to take? Is like, let's hope that we can get the roster good and it's like a free agent quarterback will come, or not a free agent, but like free agent or a trade quarterback will choose to play here.
I think that's what they've been hoping for, and then they chose Sam Darnold. So,
Right. Hmm.
um, I don't know. But the thing is like I still don't think this roster's in a position to
No.
like really be interesting.
Yeah, no, they got some work to do. Defense looks solid. I like that, but they got a lot of work on offense to do. All right, two left for each of us. Where are you going with your next one?
Morgan Moses to the Ravens. Just quietly another really good signing for the Ravens. Fits this offensive line perfectly. I think he fits the scheme well. Just slots in right at right tackle, and I think he's going to hit the ground running. I really like this move for Baltimore for cheap.
Yeah, we've always been a big fan of the great Morgan Moses. Okay, can't say his name, but there you go. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't have too much to add to this, but yeah, good value signing.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not that much interesting about it. I just
Mhm.
think it's a good move.
Yeah, sure. All right. How about a bad move here? I'm going with the 49ers still having Jimmy Garoppolo on their roster. Why have we not seen a move get made yet? Wouldn't you have rather seen a move get made before free agency where you can acquire talent? And if nobody wants Jimmy Garoppolo, you can cut him for no dead cap. Get rid of him. Get him. He hurts your team being on your roster. Get him off. It's not that he's a bad quarterback. He's just not worth the money that he's currently getting paid, and you have a quarterback who should be ready to go, who sat out all year, you put, and if Jimmy Garoppolo really is about to start another year, then you have to think the Trey Lance move was just a horrible move. So either way, the quarterback situation with the 49ers is not going great.
I don't even think he's going to start next year. I got a pretty strong feeling he's going to play again next season for this team. Like, it just feels like the longer this goes on, like there can't be like more trade value now than there was, a couple weeks ago when everyone was trading for a quarterback.
Right.
Like, you're not trading him to Seattle probably.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like what is left. I get the feeling that as this continues to go on, I feel like this is probably someone who's going to be on this team next season.
Yeah, the only thing I would think about is like you wait until someone like some quarterback gets injured in the regular season, and then you make a trade, like an in-season trade kind of thing. Which is he's been
Why would he stick around on the roster until then?
well, exactly. It wouldn't make any sense. I mean, he's getting paid way too much to do it, and you're too competitive. Like, I think that would make sense if it's like if you're the Panthers, then okay, you do that. Like maybe the Panthers should like trade like a seventh for him and then make that move, or like sign him if he's a free agent, do something like that. Make that move that way. But I just don't know. That I'm trying to think of why you would keep him, but I don't know.
When Kyle Shanahan was asked, I guess pretty recently, I just found this headline: Trey Lance will start at QB for San Francisco sooner than later. That's what he said.
So we know nothing.
We know absolutely nothing, and they're not going to tell us. But I mean, unless they're going into this offseason thinking that he's going to have a quarterback battle, I get the feeling Jimmy Garoppolo is going to play next season.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, chat, maybe Trey isn't ready. I agree, Jackson, but there must be a reason. I mean, to some degree, it's like maybe they thought he would be ready by now. He isn't. And so what are you going to do? Like, you can't go back in time. It's sunk cost fallacy to say, well, we gave up so much draft capital. But I almost feel like it's like what are we doing with Jimmy? Like, you're not winning a Super Bowl with Garoppolo on your roster, I don't think. I know that they came close to winning too. It's still not. I would feel much more comfortable about going with the unknown than with Garoppolo. And I wasn't even a big Trey Lance guy coming out of the draft. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very interesting situation.
Mm-hmm.
Wrapping up my list. Do you have any left? You have one left, right?
Yeah, one left.
Wrapping up my list, I will go with Carlton Davis to the Buccaneers. This was a good re-signing. I went through the numbers again. He's a good corner, and they're getting him for, I think, what is significantly cheaper. I mean, even the guaranteed dollars, J.C. Jackson's at $40 million guaranteed. Carlton Davis is at $30 million guaranteed. I don't think he's that much worse than J.C. Jackson. I think he's pretty good even. And I think you're getting him at that price. I think that's a good deal for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I agree. It was a lot lower than I thought it would be. I wonder if that's sort of the hometown discount and also the Brady discount of him. Obviously you want to play for a championship contender, so that helps. So maybe that's all it was. But I agree. I like the move a lot, and I think it's very necessary. They weren't able to keep everybody, but he was. In my list of guys I wanted to keep, it was Godwin was number one and Davis was number two. So keeping those guys in the building, I think was huge. And then obviously when Brady comes back, that makes it a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. Bucks, this went from looking like it was going to be a terrible offseason to just another flawless offseason, basically.
Yeah, no, I was already like, okay, back to the basement. We'll just enjoy football, get to be a fan of a team that no one cares about. It sounds good. Now one more year, but before I become the rest of you guys, Kyle.
Yeah, I hate you.
Final move here. Carson Wentz going to the Commanders. It's not even like I keep saying this. It's like Carson Wentz isn't a bad quarterback. He's not someone who I wouldn't want on a roster. You think he's he's not a bad quarterback.
What is the definition of bad? Like,
I would say Carson Wentz is a tier 3 quarterback. That tends to be where he's like. If you look at his PFF WAR, he's tend to float around 2 wins above replacement. Like that tends to be where he's at. Is like he's a fine quarterback who's just getting paid way too much money. That's kind of how I view. Like Carson Wentz is maybe similar to a little bit better. I would say a little bit better than like Jimmy Garoppolo. Of like he's a fine quarterback who's just getting paid way too much.
So I guess I don't know. Like,
okay,
we do our quarterback rankings later in the offseason. We'll do it more there. But like EPA, he's 20th. And like, so I'm going through the list here. Matt Ryan was 21st. I think Matt Ryan's actually better than him. And then you go below him. You're looking at the guys below him. Taylor Heinicke, bad. Baker Mayfield, bad. Both of those guys are out of jobs, by the way. Daniel Jones, we'll see. Jared Goff, not very good. Ben Roethlisberger, he was like 150. Davis Mills, we don't know. Justin Fields, we don't know. Trevor Lawrence, we don't know. Sam Darnold, no. And then Zach Wilson, who obviously is a rookie too. So it's just like, he's basically the barrier where if you're better than him, you're going to stick around. And if you're worse than him, we'll wait. You either better be a rookie or you're probably out of the league sooner rather than later. He's basically a 0-win quarterback for me.
Interesting. Well, here, real quick, let's talk about, I think, quick breaking news by Gage, who I checked on Twitter. It is official. Patrick Peterson re-signing with the Vikings. So there you go. Getting some veterans back in there, I guess. Big move there. Back to Carson Wentz. Yeah, so I guess my thing about Wentz, though, is I don't know about zero. So I look at his numbers. For example, like the turnover worthy play percentage was down last year. I know it wasn't as dramatic as like the interception totals were, but it was down last year. And he's never going to beat a guy who was 2017. Like his career big time throw percentage tends to be right around 4. It's 4.3. It was 4 last year. It was 6.2 in 2017. I think that he still gets a lot of money from that 1 year, but I guess is the point he's a 0-win quarterback with the contract or just in because my whole thing is like I think EPA might be a little bit harsh on him just simply because I think the Colts had no wide receivers. I know they had Jonathan Taylor, but like it wasn't a great situation last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I know when I watch Carson Wentz, I'm terrified. And if I were a fan of his, I probably need heart medication. Now, I think it's a little more than that 1 year too, because he did have that 1 year where he had like 4,500 yards and like I don't think he had a single receiver over 500 yards passing too. There's certainly good there. He's still got one of the best arm talents in football, but it doesn't seem like you can take the stupid out of him. The stupid out of him is going to follow him everywhere. And I think that stupid is too much. That's probably mean. But at the same time, I still think those mistakes are going to weigh him down until he figures it out. And I don't know if he can.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's a great quarterback. I'm just saying I think that if we take away odds of winning the Super Bowl, I actually think this move kind of helps the Commanders' odds of making the playoffs. And my logic for it, part of it too, is like his receiving. I think Carson Wentz is the definition of a guy with when he has good receivers, he looks better. When he has bad receivers, he looks worse. And he hasn't had good receivers since. So 2017, if you're using PFF grades, he had the 8th best receiving ranking, 12th best in 2018, and then it's 21st. 32nd and 23rd last year with Indianapolis. So that's kind of why I think he's fallen down these past 3 years. He hasn't had guys to throw to, and he'll have better opportunities in Washington. Again, I don't think this is going to win you a Super Bowl, and I think that the contract is an issue. But I think if Wentz was getting paid $5 million, I would love this move.
Yeah, but he's not getting paid. That is the problem.
Well, right, and that's why I saw my negatives because of the contract.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, maybe he has a career renaissance, but I'm just not holding out hope for him anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. Again, I somehow become the Carson Wentz defender. I'm not saying I think Carson Wentz is going to be a star. I'm just saying I think that he has value, just not currently the cap hit is $28 million. There's not that much value.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Maybe McLaurin can figure some stuff out with him, but I think I still think. If I'm looking at Washington, I'm still probably putting them third in that division.
Let's see. So that's probably fair. So the Giants won, right?
Giants won.
Yeah, yeah. Daniel Jones MVP caliber season. That's going to happen.
So no, I still like the direction of the Eagles a lot more, and then I still think the Cowboys have enough talent to win that division right now.
Yeah. I think that's fair. All right, Kyle, that's our show. 15 of the best and worst moves. I guess 14 of the worst. 15 of the best and 14 of the worst moves here. I think good stuff. Always enjoy doing this. And next week, it's official. If you missed the beginning of the show, we are finally getting back into draft content. It's officially draft season. A week from today, we will be doing top 10 quarterbacks. Week after that, on the 13th. Or 13th and 20th. I'm not sure exactly which order we'll do it, but one of them will do, top defensive players. So we'll do it by position, and top offensive players will be the other week. 27th is going to be our annual mock draft, which is constantly everyone's least favorite show that we do, Kyle. That one, a ton of criticism we typically get for the mock draft, mostly me. And then finally, the draft week after that would be the draft recap, because that'll be after the draft. So it's draft month here in April.
Well, when you go and take, Zach Wilson won, you got to expect some criticism.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we love draft time. We love discussing this. It'll be a fun off season. These next 3 weeks are going to be good shows.
Yeah, I love it too. We're just, you will never get people that will give more stern takes. I feel could be more convinced in their opinions than draft season. That's the number one. Everyone knows everything in draft season.
Draft people are absolute lunatics. It's crazy.
I know.
And it's like, you know what? Most of the time, these people, it's like a 50-50 shot anyway. But you got to defend your take to death no matter what. And it's like, that just makes you look worse.
Right. No, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think after I can't even remember who I was so strongly about one time. But it's the best take is to kind of be neutral on everybody, right? That's my go-to.
Well, yeah, that's basically what people do, but then that makes boring content. So then I'm the one who always gets all the criticism, because I'm the one, saying Zach Wilson's the best, going to be the next Aaron Rodgers.
I think I got some hot takes.
Yeah,
we'll obviously get into that. I got some hot takes for this draft. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I watched a game of Kyle Hamilton. Wasn't impressed with the one game. Still have to watch more, but so far one game, not impressed.
I like him. I like his stuff. Maybe
it was a bad game.
Yeah, I don't know about taking a safety top, 3, but I like his stuff.
Okay, gotcha. Well, it'll be interesting. We'll finally skid into talking some of the draft quarterbacks next week. Always a good time. Kyle, let them know where they can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is @JacksonKruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin. Make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Yes, of course, there's the audio only feed. If you like to listen to your podcast, you can check that out there. If you listen on the audio only feed, check out the YouTube channel, Jackson Kruger Sports on YouTube. A lot of good content on here. It's a lot of fun. Come argue with me in the comments below. Always a good time. Kyle, any final thoughts before we head out?
No, I forgot to pull up the date and see how long it is till September 8th.
Oh, no. How will we know how long it'll be until football season starts?
162 days until football season, so we're all looking forward to it. I don't have anything else to add. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, this should be a lot. Wait, so do you go to like a website to do that? I thought you were doing the math every time.
No, I Google days until September 8th.
Oh, you can do that? That's fascinating. Yeah. Okay, well, guess there you go. That's a neat trick to have. Yeah, thanks to everyone for watching or listening. We do appreciate it. And until next time, see you later, alligator.
Peace.